How to conquer the fear of failing. And the word for you today, that's what today's lesson is about, Tuesday, February the 4th. In Psalm chapter 37, verse 23 and 24, it says, "The Lord delights in the way of the man whose steps he has made firm. Although he stumble, he will not fall, for the Lord upholds him with his hand." God gives us three benefits for the man who trusts in God. The first one is that the Lord delights in him. The man that trusts in God, God delights in that man. You know, we all want someone to be pleased with us. And if we delight ourselves in God, you know what? God is delighted with us. So first of all, the first benefit is the Lord delights in us. And you know, we want God to delight in us because things are going to go better. Second thing, the way of the man whose steps he has made firm. God has made the man he delights in, God has made his steps firm. You want to honor God, you want to serve God? Good. Do that. And you know what? God is going to direct your steps. God has a plan for you. He has a plan for your life. Our lives are not just a random series of events. As we trust in God, He guards our way. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't depend on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths." As you honor God, God delights in you, and He delights in you, and He's also going to guide your steps. And the third thing is, although sometimes we stumble, we will not fall. Doesn't mean we won't physically fall. What it means is we're not going to eventually fail. Do we fail at some things? Yes. But failing, that ultimate failing, no, we will not experience that. God says He will pick us up and He will help us to succeed. Think of Noah. Noah, for 100 years, he worked on that ark. Day after day after day. After 53 years, and hearing people make fun of him, he continued to work. After 61 years, after 72, after 93 years of working on this boat, people made fun of him. But you know what? He stayed faithful to God. And what did God do? Even though it looked like he was a fool by working on this thing, he wasn't. It's about to really pay off. Moses spent 40 years tending sheep out in nowhere. But God had a plan for him to use him. Joseph spent 13 years in prison in Egypt. God had a plan for him. It looked like each of those three were failing at life, but you know what? They weren't. Why? Because God was directing their steps. He was going to cause them to succeed. So how do we handle life when we seem to be failing and not succeeding? You say, that's fine for them, but I don't see God rescuing me. I don't see God taking me from failing to succeeding. Well, what do we do? How do we handle that? Well, first of all, we hold close to God. We stay close to God. Why? Because God is the one that has the answers. We stay close to Him and let Him speak to us. We spend time with Him and listen to Him. He'll tell us when to go. When's the right time to act? When's the right time to be still? Third thing, we be faithful to Him, even when things don't seem to be working out. God is always faithful. And if we will be faithful to Him, He will be faithful to us. And then remember always that God is faithful. We have to remember that, because if we don't, there's going to be times we're going to want to give up. I wonder how many times Noah wanted to give up building that ark. I wonder how many times Moses felt like his life was being wasted out there watching sheep. I wonder how many times Joseph wondered, God, do you know where I am? And how many times do you and I think, God, what's going on in my life? Nothing seems to be working. I feel like a failure. I feel like I'm doing nothing. God, stay close to God. Listen to Him. Have faith in Him and just be obedient to Him. There was a man named George Campbell Morgan. He preached his first sermon at 13 years of age. He made an application to the Wesleyan School of Ministry. He was one of 150 men to apply for 45 positions. He came into this auditorium that seated 1,000. There were 3 men in the place, only 3. They were sitting there and they were going to listen to him give a message. He did. A few weeks later, he got a reply, and it said, "Rejected. You show no promise." Dejected, George Campbell Morgan sent a telegram to his father. He said, "Rejected, dark, very dark, everything seems dark. Still God knows what is best." His dad sent a telegram back. "Rejected on earth, accepted in heaven. Dad." George Campbell Morgan became one of the most well-known and popular preachers of all time. Even those 3 men saw no promise in him. God did. God wouldn't let him fail. Why? Because George was faithful to God. He preached over 23,390 times. He wrote over 70 books. His 4 sons were preachers, and he continued to give himself to ministry, and God used him in an incredible way. The man that 3 experts called a failure with no promise, God used in a huge, incredible way. Today, people still read his sermons and learn from him. How do we conquer the fear of failing? By just keep going and trusting in God. And remember, God is a God of faithfulness. He will never give up. Have a good day.